And welcome in. We are live for the first time together. We're out here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Tough day today, Dan. Our boy Jalen Hurts got hurt, and this was not exactly the way we predicted this game would go.
Cheap shot, question mark?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Frankie Louvu is just an aggressive player. It is not like Jadeveon Clowney spearing Carson Wentz's head into the ground when the playoff game against the Seahawks. That's a little different.
Yeah. He's scary, though.
Yeah.
If I learned anything today, it's that Louvu is terrifying to look at, and that he will be in my dreams tonight. Nightmares, rather.
Joe Davis said what? He was the most best line. What did he say?
He said something along the lines of the best defensive player in the league.
Which
Joe Davis was on his not A game, not B game, not C game. He might have been on his D game at best today. We had a lot to say about that.
He was on his high horse and was just making asinine comments the entire game. So where do we start? I mean, obviously they got up to a fast start. First time they scored a touchdown on the first drive all year. Good
Remarkable.
sign.
It helps to start at the 50-yard line.
True.
Great defensive play.
Yeah.
Great defensive effort.
5 turnovers total, but
Joe Davis will tell you 5 turnovers total. Preposterous that the Eagles were losing this game. Obviously, he left the fine detail out that Hurts was hurt from the third drive on. He wasn't a participant in this game.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Makes a big difference when you're starting quarterbacks out.
You think
obviously. Yeah, it felt like the defense really keyed in on that, right? I mean, the run game suddenly became very difficult. I think it was either the first or second drive with Kenny Pickett. Barkley broke the long run.
Yeah.
But I know Pickett was in for that because we remarked, wow, even though they had to have known we were going to run the ball, you ran it for, I don't know, was that?
It was like 60 plus,
yards? Yeah. Phenomenal run, but that was the last big run we saw.
Yeah.
I think in the rest of the game.
Yeah, so we're doing this without our phones in front of us. Usually we got screens going on. We got stats everywhere. We're live reacting because we watched it here on this couch down here in Pittsburgh. Been a fun day watching football. 4 o'clock window was decent. But today, I mean, you can't expect the Eagles to win a game when your starting quarterback is hurt for 3.5 quarters. I think what we saw today is how valuable Jalen Hurts is to this team, because he makes the defense focus on so many other things, whether it's him running, his ability to pass the ball. The defense was loaded up in the box all afternoon.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, even when he's not passing the ball well, you run so many option plays, so many RPOs. I think we found out when Pickett went to hand the ball off to Barkley, they knew that it was either a Barkley run or potentially a play action, but they were not worried at all that Pickett would keep that thing and run it himself. So they were keying in on that. And I said to you during the game, I don't know that I've seen so many rush attempts result in a loss of 1, 2, or 3 yards. I think this has got to be the most there's ever been in a single game this year.
By far. Usually when Barkley, it looks like he's going to get stopped for a loss or no gain, he's still able to take it up. But you can do that when you're only having 6 guys in the box.
Yeah.
They're playing 2 high safeties. It seemed like they were playing single high safety all afternoon because they knew they could stack the box and stop the run because that's what they had to lean on. Saquon finished with a little over 100 yards, I believe, in that one touchdown. But other than that long run, was not getting a lot of yardage.
And not involved in the pass game either. I mean, the pass game was 2 guys today.
Yeah.
2 guys. I think we had a Gainwell catch. I didn't check at the very end of the game, but did anyone else catch a pass? I know that we didn't get a single Calcaterra catch.
Or even a target.
Or even a target. Yeah, correct. So I think it was all Smith, A.J. Brown. Barkley might have got a target on that shovel pass play, but I mean, 2-dimensional, Barkley or A.J. Brown / Smith. And they still almost snuck away with a win, which is the craziest part about it.
Yeah, and I don't think you can put it on the defense. Yeah, they gave up 33 points at the end of the day, but the offense was inept. As soon as Kenny Pickett came in, they had 5 turnovers, but I think they only got 6 points, at least after Hurts got hurt. They did not get a lot of points off of turnovers. That's on the offense. The defense was on the field the entire game. It just completely flipped the script of what the Eagles were good at as soon as Hurts is out of the game.
I will say the one thing, we talked about this. We tried to draw conclusions that would be relevant to playoffs, right? So you would like to think that Hurts will be back. He'll be the quarterback of this team for the playoffs. So you want to draw conclusions based on the fact that the things that will be relevant in the future. Kenny Pickett being quarterback is hopefully not going to be relevant to the foreseeable future as far as it relates to playoffs. However, one thing that happened today, I will say, with the defense that they've been so good at for like the entire year is the big plays. I mean, this defense has led up so few big plays. I think that there was one drive where they led up 2 massive pass plays. I think one was to the first play in this drive was to Brown. I think the guy
right side against Slay.
I've
Brown.
Never heard of this guy before in my life.
I heard him one time.
And then I think it was the same drive. They went deep and burned us bad to scary Terry McLaurin on the left side of the end zone.
Yep, Quinyon got beat on that play.
Which you don't see often, obviously. I think that might be the first touchdown that he's led up this year, if I'm not mistaken. But 2, and there were more big plays in the game, but very rare to see this defense let up big plays, let alone 2 in one drive. If there's any concerns that I have or like, we got to fix that, it'd be that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and CJ getting ejected from the game hurts. We don't really know what happened because both of them were unsportsmanlike conduct penalties because allegedly he was saying something, and we know CJ likes to yap.
They literally did not show the second one.
No.
I don't think they ever put up any footage of that, which is crazy. Even if he's just talking, it's crazy that they didn't have. So to me, that shows that they had no video evidence of it, I'm assuming. But usually they show that stuff.
The camera probably wasn't on the group of guys who were down there with the officials. They had to have heard something that was egregious enough to throw him out of the game. And I've seen people already coming down on him saying this was the reason they lost the game. It is not.
No.
The reason they lost the game is because they lost their star quarterback in the first quarter. Yeah. And I think you can end it there. Now, were there things that didn't look good, like Quinyon getting beat and Slay getting beat, not being able to run the ball, even though Pickett was at quarterback? I didn't feel like the offensive line had their best game. Pass pro was a little suspect, and you can see what happens when they have to block 8 guys in the box instead of 5.
I think it's hard to judge, right? Because it's a whole nother ball game when the entire defense is assuming run play. It's hard to block when you have that many guys in the box, like you said. So tough to judge that. I thought the O-line was okay. I thought Kenny Pickett had a good amount of plays where he had kind of time in the pocket, which was good because I don't think he had the greatest awareness in the pocket, hence the one fumble especially.
Yeah.
But I thought they were okay. I thought they were good enough to win the game, certainly. But
Pickett was almost good enough to win the game.
Pickett was, well, do we want to go there? I mean, he was good enough to win the game.
Yeah, I think the play that it hinged on the entire time, and it will be the talking point.
Yeah.
So uncharacteristic that Devontae Smith drops a ball in his hands. Was that almost a walk-in touchdown? We watched so much football this afternoon. I'm trying to read.
At the end of the day, it would have gotten them in position to get the first down.
Yeah.
The game would have probably been over.
That was a 3rd and 5, right? It would have put him up.
Yeah, it was a beautiful pass.
It was right in his hands.
Pass. It was a great pass. It was a great route that he got so wide open. We talked about it last pod that the Eagles were leading all of football with only 5 drops.
You did this.
Yeah, I did. I did do this.
No, you didn't do this.
No, that's a good point. And he made multiple catches on 3rd downs earlier in the game. I mean, he had a phenomenal game. But both receivers did. The 2 receivers that we chose to use today, and which is usually the case. But yeah, man, he dropped that bad, and that I think was the only big drop in the game. They don't drop many, so that would make it 6 for the year. But it's one of those things where it was just in such a big moment that it's so impactful. You know, if it's in the first quarter, second quarter, we've probably forgotten about it by now.
Just like Saquon's drop again in the Atlanta game.
Yeah.
It was crucial time. If he catches that, walks into the end zone, that's always something we're going to remember. Point. And you brought something up earlier that we can analogize this to. like the MVP conversation. It's all recency bias.
It's crazy.
If something happens in the beginning of the game or the beginning of the season, like Josh Allen, if he was on this tear that he is now, week 1 through 3, it wouldn't be as relevant as it is now. Say that drop happened in the first quarter. It's not in crunch time, so it's going to stick in our head all week. And uncharacteristic drop by Devontae there, but.
Yeah, I think there's such an insane emphasis that people love on end of the season, recency bias, and also clutch time, right? Like, look at today's game, Josh Allen, for example. Where in the world was he in the first half? I mean, they played a horrible first half.
They looked terrible.
But they go on to win the game. That's all that matters, So it's an incredible recency bias. Just because it's on my mind now because we're talking about the MVP thing. If Saquon Barkley throws that touchdown pass, I think that he's close. I think he's close.
That would have at least...
And they won the game. They probably would need to win the game.
Yes.
But obviously they're going to win the game if he throws that touchdown pass there, I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one for the Eagles to lose. Feels different, I think, than the Falcons' loss, which was that the last loss? It was so long ago,
In fact, it was the Buccaneers game, which was the
was,
day of your wedding.
Yeah, a missing memory of mine.
This is the last loss you've seen since week 2. Yeah, because obviously you had other things going on.
You know what?
Week 4.
This is really problematic, Colin.
Why? Yeah. Oh my God!
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
Oh no, Colin!
Ladies and gentlemen,
you just realized it at the same time.
We just learned something today. Dan and I cannot be in Pittsburgh watching the Eagles, or just be in Pittsburgh together on an NFL Sunday because the Eagles will lose.
The last 2 times that the Eagles have lost, we have been together.
In Pittsburgh, no less.
In Pittsburgh. God, we can only hope that it's specific to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
But I don't know if we should be willing to try it out in other areas of the world, being that we're so close to the playoffs. Wow! How interesting is this?
The irony of the fact that this podcast started because we're Eagles fans in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And now when we get together in Pittsburgh, they lose.
Yeah, every rose has its thorn.
Jillian, we're moving to Philadelphia.
Yeah, this was a real natural realization that just happened. Probably the coolest realization, even though it's a negative thing that has ever occurred on a pod. That is...
I did not even think of that.
I think I'm gonna have to. Wow, feel sad.
I'm about to cry right now.
Yeah, and we've watched games together in Pittsburgh, and they've won. That's kind of
like the Super Bowl,
like the Super Bowl.
So it's not always been this way.
All right, if anyone knows how to break this curse, send us an email.
Do we need a seance?
Yeah, no, I mean, so
we need to test this theory by watching a game in Philadelphia, whether it's this year or next year. Well, I'm not coming back to Pittsburgh to watch a game with you the rest of the season.
That's fair.
Because we're 0 for 2.
Totally fair.
2 out of the 3 losses. But
maybe
also,
Super Bowl.
This is the
bring full circle.
Yeah. I saw it earlier. They were prior to today 10-0 when AJ Brown played, 1-2 when he did not.
Which. Not to get you off the rails there, but which makes so much sense when you see how much they throw him the ball. I mean,
I thought Kenny Pickett did a really good job of relying on AJ because he cannot be covered one-on-one. And whether it's Hurts or Pickett, you can get him the ball. Even when they're keying on the run and knowing that
And what's not even on the stat sheet is the 2 or 3 times where they're getting the same yardage and first downs because of penalties that he's drawing from Lattimore specifically in this game.
He had 3 PIs on one drive?
That's not even on the stat sheet, you know, and those are yards that he's getting just as if he caught the ball. So I do appreciate Kenny Pickett. You see a lot of backups come in and they're timid and they're afraid to throw the ball. So what do? They check it down, they take sacks, they throw it away. Maybe they run the ball, they hold it, or they just hit the slot receiver, the tight end, because it's all close and tight, Kenny Pickett, from the second that he started playing, was fearless. I mean, he was willing to hum the rock, and I think one of his first plays, he hummed it deep to A.J. Brown. So, I mean, the problem with that is he's so willing and aggressive throwing at A.J. Brown. It led, obviously, to the one interception that put the defense in a very bad position as they got the ball in their own red zone.
Yeah.
But there's pros and cons to everything. It's cool that he's willing to kind of let it loose and trust the guys that are really good.
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about this earlier a little bit. I don't know if it's just a quarterback tendency amongst the guys they have in the room between the two guys we've seen, Hurts and Pickett. But it is interesting that both of them are so incredibly force-feeding the top two guys and not throwing it to anybody else. And you can't help but wonder if it's a coaching thing, if it's a scheme thing.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It is.
Most guys will at least a little bit spread it around.
Yeah.
And they are force-feeding those guys.
I wish I had looked it up. I still don't know how many catches Jahan Dotson has on the season. And I would guarantee you it's probably less than 20.
Oh,
He didn't have a target today. Barkley didn't have a target today. They're still missing Goddard.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, going forward,
12
catches.
Yeah.
And that's your third receiver?
Yeah.
It's almost unheard of.
Yeah.
And we were thinking that we got Jahan Dotson, like, oh, we have a great three-way tandem. But I don't know if it's him or it's scheme. He's just not getting the ball.
Well, we have two different quarterbacks that we've seen play, albeit a small sample size from Pickett, and they aren't even going to him. Like, Pickett didn't even target him, So
Is that just because Brown and Devontae are that good?
I don't know. See, my theory has always been when you see backups come in, sometimes a wide receiver 3 miraculously gets a bunch of targets. And I guess I have like two theories on it and the check down guys. One is that, it's a little scary. You limit your box. It's a little bit easier. Now you start going way out to the X receiver, to your A.J. Brown's like way outside, albeit they move A.J. Brown a lot. He's in a lot of different places. It's a tougher throw to get to the outskirts, which usually your wide receiver 1 is maybe more in the outskirts. But my other theory, so you go inside, right? But my other theory is that the backup quarterback might spend a little bit more time with some of those backup receivers, your 3s and 4s. Because the quarterback 1 is potentially throwing to the big name guys, so that maybe sometimes they're more comfortable with the guys that are not the big names.
Absolutely.
That was obviously not the case in this game,
No.
Which is part of the reason why I kind of lean towards maybe thinking, although if we think about Kenny Pickett in his career, which I don't know a ton about him, but it seems like when he had a number 1 guy, I don't know about the Steelers. I know in college he was like Addison.
Yeah.
Addison. Get it to Addison.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But it is interesting, and it really does stick out to me because I thought it was 100% a Hurts thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pickett, we looked at his stats like through the third quarter, and he had no targets at that point in time to anyone but Smith and Brown, which is wild.
It was crazy. One thing I did take notice of today that is irrelevant to losing the quarterback. I felt like this was their worst tackling game in a very long time. We saw a lot of missed tackles today, especially from the secondary. Like that one where Blankenship just kind of...
That was wild. That was the softest attempt I think we've seen this year by a safety.
Yeah. I
don't think that's an exaggeration. That was a I don't really care type of... And I think the coach is probably telling that to those guys, but that was the pathetic. That was pathetic. I don't mean to sound like Howard Eskin on his the week of his leave, thank God. But that was the softest, most pathetic attempt at a tackle I think I've seen.
There was very little effort there, and it showed. Yeah.
However, the one thing I will say to that comment is Slay
had a great game.
Played very physical.
Yes.
Stepped out for a while. He does that every single game. He's an old man.
He is an old man.
But he was extremely physical and played. I mean, he's been great. He really has been very good all year. He just has been getting hurt in a lot of games and steps out. And we see Rodgers for a while, who also I thought was, again, okay. Slay was very physical, and I thought he set a very good tone. The other guys, not as much. And CJ, we didn't get to see out there for most of the second half, if not. I can't remember when he got ejected.
Yeah, I think it was mid to early third quarter, if I remember correctly.
So, which is a shame because I feel like we saw some big quarterback runs in the second half. Especially there was a 3rd and 11 where Daniels was able to break free and get a freaking first down, and McCollum.
Oh yeah, Tristan McCollum. Yes,
just put him on skates, and I feel like those are type of plays where CJGJ is going to not let that guy get past him.
No,
so that's his strength.
That is his strength, is keeping quarterbacks from escaping downfield.
Yeah. And running backs, frankly.
True. Yeah. Yeah, he's really good at filling the hole when somebody gets beyond the first or second level. Bond and Dean still had a good game. I don't put any of the onus on them.
I thought they looked pretty good. We
do need to get an update on Jordan Davis. Because
that's a good point.
I don't know. It didn't feel like he came back in the game once he got his leg rolled up on.
I think you're right. Yeah, so, he got basically a what's it called?
Crack block or
chop block, basically to the knees. Which I don't think any of the commentators said any kind of conversation about, which was controversial. Weird. But I thought you couldn't go after a guy's knees. I thought that was illegal,
especially because he was he engaged with someone else?
No, it was kind of like a. I don't know if you'd call it like a trap block or a pull by, I think, the tight end from the right side came in and called him, and he went down. Maybe I think it was the tight end, maybe it was Bates. I don't know. He just kind of went down at his knees, and that's scary because anytime a guy's coming off the field because of a knee, that's usually not a good thing.
Especially when you're the size that Jordan Davis is.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's something we have to look at. You said it earlier. We might not get Jalen Hurts next week either.
I don't think we should. I mean,
can they beat? Today was really not good for the Eagles. They're pretty much guaranteed to not have the 1 seed. They're gonna be the 2 seed because both Detroit and Minnesota won. So I mean, what do we do with the next 2 weeks? Obviously, you probably sit Hurts next week.
That's the interesting thing, right? Because next week. Most guys with concussions these days don't play the next game. Back in the day, they used to be out there for the next game. I feel like you don't see that too much. But then...
But the division's not over yet.
I know. But if he doesn't play next game, which I don't think he should with a concussion, what day of the week is it? It's a Sunday.
Yeah.
Cowboys.
As of now, the 4:25 game, but it's probably going to get flexed if I had to guess.
But I think if you don't play him next week, then... you have to at least play a little bit, whether it's a relevant game or not, than the last week. Because you said it earlier, a month of no football seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, if he went from now until week 1 of the playoffs, that's 3 weeks of not playing football.
Yeah. So I don't think he should play next week. I don't think he will, just because the way that, anybody that plays fantasy football can probably tell you, like, normally, if a guy gets a concussion, he doesn't play the next game.
There's been a handful of guys who have come back the next week, but I would say, the majority do miss the following game as well.
Yeah.
But, not only are they not going to get the 1 seed, this completely brought the Commanders, I think, back into the possibility to win the division, given that Jalen Hurts might not be able to play. Can the Eagles beat the Cowboys without Jalen Hurts is my question. I am not that confident. Kenny Pickett played well, don't get me wrong, but the Cowboys have not quit on Mike McCarthy the way some people thought that they would. They're still playing hard, even though they're eliminated from the playoffs. They still have good players. Micah Parsons is still a problem. Cooper Rush is a better backup in the league than most. I wouldn't put it past them. Now, luckily, the game is at home, which is big for the Eagles. That's big for the Eagles. But what we thought was going to be an easy 2-game stretch is now completely in question.
I'm trying to find out who would win the tiebreaker with the two teams. And so my recollection is that if the head-to-head is tied up, which it is, then it would be division record, correct? So the Commanders have lost. If that's the case, the Commanders have lost to the Cowboys once.
Oh, they did lose to the Cowboys. That's true.
But did they play him a second time yet? No. Last game of the year. It's against the Cowboys.
Which could be that.
So we would probably have to go I'm going to throw a big word out here, tertiary.
Uh-huh.
If we were to lose to Dallas, we would be tied
Yes.
in that stat. I don't know what the NFC record.
Next one? Common NFC opponents.
So, go back to the drawing board here. So I'll just tell you whoever they lost to.
Yeah, that would help.
Steelers, which wouldn't be helpful for that.
Yeah.
And Ravens. No, damn it. So
wait,
yeah.
so they lost to the Steelers and Ravens?
Yes. So
we beat the Steelers and Ravens, so that's good for us.
Well, but if the next tiebreaker is NFC record, then it's not helpful.
Yeah.
They lost to the Bucs. We lost to the Bucs. The only NFC team that I
probably beat the Falcons, right?
The only NFC team that I see on here that they lost to, apart from us, is the Cowboys, which I mentioned, and the Buccaneers.
Okay. Yeah.
We lost to the Falcons, so we would lose that. I think tiebreaker then because we lost to the Falcons.
As of now, we'll definitely have to do some.
Next week's game is against Falcons.
Okay,
which makes sense.
Michael Penix, let's go, buddy.
Yeah, but then I think so. If they lost to the Falcons, it would just bring us to the next next.
Yes, probably
complete chaos. So we got to win.
Okay,
we got to beat the Cowboys.
Whether it's with Pickett or Hurst.
Can you imagine if we don't win this division?
Oh, I didn't even think this was possible.
I'm still not sure it is, but it might be
because the Commanders are they're 10-5 now, and we're 12-3.
Yeah, we have.
We're 12.
I mean, if we win a game, we're good. And the Giants are so bad right now. The Giants are so bad right now.
You know what? That is so true. I for some reason in my mind, I thought the Commanders were one game back of where the Eagles were, not two.
No.
So that's on me. I completely forgot the standings. I was so disoriented and sad after watching that game the way it ended. I didn't even look at any stats or anything. I just went right into the 4:00 window.
Yeah. So we're 12-3. They're 10-5.
We're okay. We're fine.
So if we win one more game, we're good. But so I don't know. In some ways, it's Dallas. So Dallas sucks, and we hate Dallas. So there's always a lot on the line to beat Dallas. But I feel like in some ways, there's not as much on the line for next week, especially if Hurts doesn't play.
Yeah.
And I will never wish to lose, but I do think that I would prefer to see Hurts out there a little bit, the offense out there a little bit before playoffs. And I don't think that they would play Hurts if they win next week. I don't see why they would, unless there's a battle for the 2 seed.
Well, if he doesn't play next week, then we're in that scenario where he would go a month without playing.
Yeah, exactly.
You're talking about the Giants.
I
game
don't
week
think
18.
that they would play him if there's nothing on the line.
Week 18, you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So,
yeah, I mean that it brings a whole other level to the rest versus rust conversation.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
When we started this game, where it was, and then how it ended, how now it changes everything going forward. People have been saying it all week about Detroit. Being healthy matters at the right time, and losing your quarterback obviously sucks. Thank God it's not a season-ending injury.
Yeah.
But this just opened up a whole bunch of cans of worms that we didn't intend to see today.
Mm-hmm.
God willing, they still win the division. They get the 2 seed. I don't think the sky is falling. I don't know about you.
No.
It just sucks to lose to your division rival.
The big play thing is concerning to me.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, surprising. I mean, we talked about it. The weapons that Washington has.
Not great.
No. We didn't even freaking know the name of that Diami Brown guy. I'm not even trying to be a jerk. I knew Noah Brown, who didn't really play in this.
He's
been
hurt.
Game.
Yeah, he's been hurt.
Freaking Crowder.
Jamison Crowder.
He
just came back from injury.
She scores a toddy on us.
That was a bad play by Bond. He was not in a good position there.
Yeah,
they broke that down on
you
him.
say that, but I see CJ having no idea what's going on in that play. And I do believe that you really don't know the defensive play call.
Yeah.
So to me, it's hard. And maybe a football guy who knows the X's and O's better than me would say so. But to me, it looked like CJ was caught up in the bubble. There was like a bubble kind of screen happening.
I think we're talking about a different play. I'm talking about the one at the end of the game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm talking about the earlier one where CJ was still qualified to play in the game.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
The picture that came up where it showed our 3 players that were out. The one, Hurts, out. Sweat, questionable. CJGJ, disqualified.
that graphic was hilarious.
That was funny.
You don't see that very often.
No, you don't. You don't. But yes, the last play of the game you think was on Bond.
Yeah.
And I kind of think it was on the safety that was in McCollum. Because so I don't know all of that stuff, but I read in a little bit more to like the body language, and it looked like Blankenship was doing a little like, where are you? And he wasn't covering it. And to me, McCollum was also doing like a, shoot. You know?
I was in the
He kind of got caught up in there, and he was too late pulling over and seeing the seam route that was coming over. So I actually think maybe Bond could have done better to pass it along or to follow through, but I think McCollum was supposed to be there covering that based on just the body language and the formation from how I saw it. But
Now, my interpretation of all this and the way the defense did not look their best today, my guess is because they were on the field a lot more than they normally are. Yeah. What was I don't know off the top of my head, but they didn't have any like long going down the field drives, did they? I mean, that they had,
because they were set up in a lot of premier positions based off of turnovers.
Yeah.
5 turnovers.
Yeah.
And a lot that were
short
midfield.
Fields.
Yeah.
A lot of short fields.
And to your point earlier, short fields, and we ended up gaining no yards or losing a few and then punting it right back.
Yeah, they punted it 3 times in a row in the third quarter. They scored 21 in the first, which is completely unlike them.
Yeah.
Didn't score in the second, and then they had 9 more points, 12 points the rest of the game. Hey, at least Jake Elliott had a good game.
So I was going to ask you about that next. He couldn't reach 56 yards, which is weird to me. That he.
My question was, there wind involved, and it was also cold. Now, I think he should still be able to.
56 yards. 56 across the league, a lot of guys are booting it 56 yards.
Yeah, outside.
And we've seen Elliott boot it 60-plus yards before. It was accurate.
I think indoors, he can hit 56 easy.
Yeah, but that would be relevant to the Lions. I guess Lions.
Yeah.
That'd be it, right? Because we're
pretty much
hopefully and likely playing in Philadelphia.
This is true. Yeah.
So, but yeah, short at 56, and then the 50 was the 50 the one that just
under the red flag,
stuck in there. So
is that your Tony Romo impression?
Yeah, he just get a little bit. Oh God, he got it. Wow. But there's still time left, so the Chiefs could still win. Yeah.
Well played.
Yeah. But Jim just like, can we go to commercial?
Please.
For the love of God, can we please go to commercial?
What's
in his mouth?
Get this weirdo out of my booth.
What have you done to my career? Yeah, he's wasted. But yeah, every time Jake Elliott goes to kick it,
we're nervous.
We're nervous. We're not used to that with Jake Elliott, 2 first names. You know, I don't know. He does not look confident. And his kicks, I don't know. He made a 50-yarder today, so maybe we shouldn't feel this way. But
the first one of the season, and it's week 16.
First one of the season. Well, I guess you'd rather be in week 16 than the only one you made is in the beginning of the season. But
fair.
Yeah, it is concerning. It's like, you think about the Bill Belichick way and the Patriots, and it's like every tiny little detail matters. And
it does.
That's a little detail that can become quite a big detail really fast. And it just sucks that you can't rely on, we're 50 yards out, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
So
when the last 4 years we have been.
Yeah.
There's never been a question about Jake Elliott being a good kicker.
He's been rock solid. Yeah, he's been rock solid. And on that 50-yarder, I believe it was a little bit of a sketchy snap.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was the snap or the hold.
It was the snap. Snap was a little closer to the holder. Man did a good job of getting it in position. So that could have played a little bit into it.
Which, I got to say, always like blows my mind. I guess it makes sense in the sense of like allocation of practice time, but it is weird to me that every team assumes the punter at that position when there are, no offense to punters, far more athletic guys everywhere else on the roster. Why wouldn't you just, you know what I mean? I just, no offense to punters. This is like a lot of attack on kickers and punters right now. But like,
are we kicking the kickers while they're down?
Have you never wondered that? Like,
you know what?
Why not get a super athletic stud, even a guy that just like plays special teams, who has great hands, to learn how to be really good at that? It's just always been a thought in my mind.
I've never thought about this, so that's interesting.
Listen, man, I saw an article 5 years ago where freaking NASCAR pit crews were signing up former college football athletes to join their pit crew because they're super athletic and super fast. So they're on to it. They got the quick hands.
Yeah.
Well, I've always wondered that. Like, no offense to punters, but I assume that your wide receiver 4 is probably like far more athletic and better with their listen.
I think it's just because that's what punters do, and they've been trained to do that since high school. And that is just, they practice it over and over and over again.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of time allocation probably plays into that.
And it's like, maybe it's not the same, but it's like having a pitcher hit a baseball. Like, they don't practice hitting the baseball.
Yeah.
They practice pitching. Punters punt the ball, and then they practice holding the snaps.
Yeah.
They always have, from the time they started being a specialized punter, all the way through college, because it's the same way in college.
Yeah.
It's the punter that does it.
And you want the same guys in there. You want them to be comfortable with each other, know what they're doing.
And if you have a special teams guy who needs to work on special teams drill,
right,
and then take out his time to go hold kicks, I think that's all it is. It's just specialized time allocation. It's a very specialized play and skill. So you give the guy with the most free time to do it, who's used to doing it. I never thought about that before.
You saw kicks in high school, by the way, because I had soft hands.
Yeah.
And the coach always taught me that you catch it, you put that thing down, and then you give it like a little bit of spin so that the laces aren't being kicked.
Laces out.
Well, if anyone's ever listened to Pat McAfee, he said that is not on the holder. It's actually on the snapper. The snapper is supposed to snap at the same time every way, such that it shouldn't be on the holder. That you have to spin the ball. That should not be on the holder. Fun fact.
Really?
That's what he has said. Yes.
Well, are we talking professional long snappers or high school? Because I think
I think that he was probably talking about professionals.
Yes, I would. So your high school coach was right. You need to make sure you spin.
No, Coach Wiener sucked. Okay.
He sucked Wiener?
Yeah. Well. His last name was Wiener, believe it or not.
He sucked.
And that's how he taught me. And then when Pat McAfee said that, I was a little bit annoyed because it's hard to spin that thing.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to place it down, let alone spin that thing.
It's hard to grab it, put it on the ground in a half second.
It's very stressful.
And then make sure the laces are out.
Tony Romo would know how stressful that is.
Oh, yeah. That's why you don't put somebody else in to hold kicks.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what it used to be, right? It used to be like quarterbacks.
You
used to see quarterbacks do it kind of a lot.
Backup quarterbacks.
Think about it. Why Tony Romo used to hold them.
I know he did.
The infamous fumble play.
But
that wasn't all that uncommon that quarterbacks would hold kicks.
So it's Tony Romo's fault that punters have to do it.
Could be.
He ended that.
Could be.
That was the end of the dinosaurs and quarterbacks holding.
Punters in the job. Yeah, honestly, it'd be something to look up because you might be onto something. Truly. Yeah.
Today was just I didn't know how to react to a loss because it's been so long since we've had one. Yeah. And I'm not even that mad because what are you going to do? Your quarterback goes out in the first quarter. Obviously, the entire game plan is thrown out the window. And when you have this dynamic offense that is specialized at doing a couple of things very well, and when that quarterback is out, I think today goes to show how valuable Jalen Hurts is to this team. I think that's kind of my main takeaway. Defense, they'll fix some stuff up. But again, they were on the field a lot today.
Yeah.
It just stinks.
I think it's fair to say that Hurts and we didn't really get to talk about the Steelers game, so we realized that he was awesome in that game and made a ton of improvements and has been better. But I think it's fair to say that Hurts is so important for this offense to succeed. While I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I'm so distracted. Hurts is so fundamental for this offense to succeed, and without him, they can't do the same things. And then also at the same time, he could be better. you know, but he was better in that Steelers game. And honestly, what stuck out the most to me in that Steelers game, how about the first drive? They went empty set a couple of times.
Yeah.
They said, actually, we're passing the ball almost every play. How many games have they just gone empty and just said, hey, we're passing the ball? The Steelers look like, we didn't plan for this at all.
No.
It was wild. So it was like an aggression that we have not seen before. And it was interesting because we kind of started out, I think the first play of the game was a complete pass to A.J. Brown, and this one on offense. But, it was it's interesting. It's like the whole drama maybe inspired a little bit more aggression on their first offensive drive, which could potentially be a good thing. And it was cool because in the Steelers game, to me, the Steelers D was like, what?
Yeah.
You're not just going to feed Barkley here? Isn't that what you normally do here? So, yeah. Get him back. Get him healthy. Whatever time it takes. I don't think the game shouldn't matter. Whatever time it takes, get him healthy, and let's get him back in the building.
I agree. I'm glad we talked through that whole thing with the 2 seed. I would say they're guaranteed to get the 2 seed at this point, even though Washington won today, unless something crazy happens and we end up losing to Dallas and the Giants, which I just don't foresee happening.
Yeah, because the other best record is in the same division as the number 1 seed.
It's the Vikings. Yeah,
the Vikings are 13-2, tied with the Lions. I mean, the Lions have the advantage, but it is wild. Do they play each other one more time?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Maybe, you know what? Maybe they do. I wish I had my phone on me. The Lions play the Niners next, or was that last week?
Niners and then
the Vikings.
The Vikings.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh!
And so I don't think they're going to lose to the Niners. Who do the Vikings play next week? That's my question.
Packers.
Oh my god, dude! This division.
I want so badly for the Vikings to win next week, and then for a fight for that top seed. That's incredible. What? Good job, NFL. Good job, NFL, for making that schedule. Jeez.
I don't think anybody expected the Vikings to be this good.
Sam Darnold?
No.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The Vikings are. They feel. You asked me earlier today. I think you said, "Do the Vikings scare you at all?"
Yeah.
And
we were watching that game this afternoon.
Yeah, my response was like, well, and this is maybe how I kind of take that kind of thing. Is like, they're not the scariest enemy, and if we can't beat the scariest enemy, or we can't beat the like second or third worst enemy, then whatever. So it's kind of like a hedge of an answer, I guess.
So what you're saying is, if you can't beat the clown, how are you going to beat Shooter McGavin?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Colin. That's what I'm saying. That's where I learned all of that. But yeah, I don't know. But the Vikings, they don't seem like any type of juggernaut. But very subtly, their defense has been a top defense for the basically entire year, if you look at the numbers. And they have a quarterback who's been, frankly, like really good.
Yes.
And they have, you could argue, the best receiver in football.
Him and Jamar Chase are
1
and 1A.
Right, exactly.
Which is crazy.
They have a phenomenal running back.
Yes.
So, I mean, they have some serious. They're 13-2, Colin.
Yeah.
In a division with what? Is that the same division as the Packers?
Yes. The NFC.
They are 13-2 in a division with the Bears, the Lions, and the Packers. That's pretty damn good, if you ask me.
I want to see by the end of the season, the NFC North might have the best total win-loss ratio of any division ever.
Yeah. Oof,
when's the last time you had two teams that had...
I'm doing my part. I
didn't do shit! Amazing. Yes, that is so accurate. That is going to be a meme by tomorrow, and if it's not, I'm going to make one and tag you in it. That is great
stuff. It's good stuff.
Can you imagine 14-2 Lions versus Vikings for the 1 seed, and the loser gets the 5 seed at 14-3?
Yeah. Yeah, and the Lions just lost. Well, last week they lost Montgomery for the rest of the year. This week he's coming back for playoffs. So, yeah. Recent reports say it's not as bad. Well, actually, so he might be back.
Other reports that he might be able to come back for the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. Other doctors. He's doing the TO thing. He's just looking around for a doctor that's going to let him play, you know? So, so we'll see. But I'd imagine he wouldn't play until the playoffs, and at best would be for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, interesting games coming up. We should be good. It sounds like we just need to win one more game, and we'll be the second seed.
I would like to think that Kenny Pickett, even though he's not the greatest quarterback, he's no Jalen Hurts, we can beat either the Cowboys or the Giants with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he won games in the NFL with the Steelers. Bless you, sir.
Thank you.
He won games in the NFL with the Steelers. He's a competent backup, clearly. I think we saw that today. He's competent. He's not great, but he's good enough. But, yeah, I mean, the only thing I wanted to say on the Vikings is they do a lot of things very well. And then other than Justin Jefferson being a freak, I don't think they do anything exceptionally well. They're just solid across the board.
Yeah.
They're another team who's stayed healthy. That's the one thing the Eagles had going for them is they have very few injuries this year prior to today. And again, thank God Jalen Hurts isn't hurt worse. He'll be back for the playoffs.
Yeah, and you start to get like a little worried about some of these guys that are not like they're playing, but they're getting injured every game. You know,
Slay.
Like Slay. Dean has had a couple games in a row now where he's left for a couple plays. I'm not paying close enough attention to like see if it's the same exact thing that he's coming out for. But it's the end of the season, and that's when this stuff. And you said it earlier. It's a great point. Bye week was what?
Week 5.
Week 5. The end of the season, you saw it in the Eagles-Steelers game for both sides. At the third, fourth quarter, It felt like it wasn't, but it felt like every other play a guy was going down for one of the two teams. So we're in that time of the season. So if we can get healthy and maybe start to, you don't want to take your foot off the gas because you need to at least win one more game, but you want to be in top-notch shape. So I guess that would be points for, hey, go out there and take care of business.
They need to take care of Dallas.
Yes, and then, absolutely. You know what? Screw it. Just like get your rest, guys. Get that second bye week, frankly.
They need one.
Because that stuff, there's a lot of little things going on and little nagging injury type stuff that's not necessarily keeping a guy out, but it is potentially affecting their game, So let's get in good shape for the big games coming up.
Absolutely. And if they do get the 2 seed, even if Jalen Hurts is off for a month, I still have faith in him to be able to come out and beat whoever the 7 seed is because, it might be the, Seahawks or the Rams coming into Philadelphia. Even though he might be off for a month, I still have confidence in him to be able to lead us to a win when we have a week where everybody can get healthy and rested.
There's tons of continuity with this team. It's not we have a lot of the same faces, at least as far as the passing game and the offense goes, than last year. So it's not, and he's played a full season. Mm-hmm. So there's tons of continuity. So you'd like to think that there shouldn't be too much rust there. They've played most of the year together, and they have familiarity from previous years. So, yeah, I don't worry too much about rust, I guess, if I start to actually think about it. And I care. I put a lot more of my chips in the get everyone healthy and in a good spot to play in this game. So in those games. Right?
From what we've seen when the Eagles are fully healthy and playing with the full complement, they're hard to beat.
Yeah.
Today was an outlier. Sucks. But, that's football. You're not going to win every game. And this was extremely extenuating circumstances.
Here's what we can say about our losses this year, and we've had 3 of them, right? At least 2 out of the 3 being the Falcons and this Washington game. We are not saying we lost because we got outmatched today.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close.
No.
Yeah, whether it's shoot ourselves in the foot or injuries or whatever it was, we're not even close to saying we weren't the better team, which is a good thing, I think. When we played the Bucks, we might not have been the better team, but our team wasn't out there. We were missing some really significant players. So that's a good thing. That gives me confidence, and that makes me want to just focus on getting our team in a good spot for those games and getting out. So I think that we are not just a better team than Washington, but a far better team. And we didn't win this game today. That's how I feel.
Sometimes it's the way it goes. It's the NFL, right?
It's the NFL. It's hard to win football games in the NFL, Colin.
I've heard that somewhere.
Everywhere.
From every goddamn coach ever. This has been fun. One, hanging out and playing football or watching football with you all day. As far as the game goes, it's not like we're going to dig deep into the weeds when this is a fluke of a game, as far as I'm concerned.
Do you have any, just to kind of end us off here, do you have any big thumbs up, thumbs down guys? Our infamous segment.
Let's see here. I thought Nolan Smith had a really good game.
Yeah.
He and Josh Sweat are still continuing to get pressure around the edge when at the beginning of the season that was a big question mark. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's a question mark anymore.
Yeah.
I would say both of those guys in tandem are continuing to show that they're competent pass rushers.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of said it earlier, my thumbs up is Slay. I thought he played a great game, and he was great in coverage, but like I said earlier, he was physical, not shying away, and made some really big plays. And we talked about the one play we were watching it live, the pass play where it felt like he could have got the big guys, try to go for the pick and then go for the pick six because it would have been there. But he was a step back from that, and he just does a smart job of getting real physical with the receiver at the point of catch. And also, as he's making a pretty big hit on the guy, you can see his arm is focused on punching that ball out. I thought he had a really good game today. And I was really impressed with him.
Yeah, I thought so too. I don't really have a thumbs down. I mean, a lot of things were just thrown out the window.
Oh, I got an easy thumbs down.
Tristan McCollum?
That was CJGJ.
Oh, true. Yeah.
The best ability is availability. No, I can say that, I'm not saying he's the reason we lost the game, but you can't get disqualified from a game, Colin. Mm-hmm. It's freaking unacceptable. It's freaking pathetic, frankly. I'm not saying he's the reason we lost the game. I'm not going to take it to that narrative, but he should be embarrassed.
Yeah, you can't mouth off to the point of getting thrown out of the game.
No, twice, by the way.
You could almost excuse it more if he was making an aggressive play.
Yes, right. I agree.
But then again,
in the moment, big play, big hit kind of thing.
That's not an unsportsmanlike conduct. That's just unnecessary roughness.
I think it depends. I think there is a bit of a two-strike thing if it's like a hit to the head or something like that, maybe.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's unacceptable.
Mouthing off to somebody is something you can control.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
Sometimes in the heat of the moment, you can't stop yourself and you're being too aggressive, which is something we usually don't fault people for. But yeah, I agree with you. That was pretty unexcusable.
And I'll take it this far. He should be freaking apologizing to his teammates.
I hope he does.
Because he let all of those guys down today. And that's just a fact. Guys leave the game because they're hurt. He left the game because he couldn't shut his mouth.
Yeah. You need to be better than that as a leader on an NFL team.
Yeah. When you put it that way, it's pretty pathetic.
I really didn't think about it that way until you said something.
Because they didn't show us a play where he was even getting hands on a guy. So I think that literally both offenses were talking.
Had to have been.
So, yeah.
I'm sure we'll find out more tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what people have to say. I was always interested in what you had to say today.
Yeah.
It was nice watching a game with you, sitting down for the first time since, I don't know, I think 2 years ago it was. So it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure all year talking to you.
Yes, sir.
Glad we actually finally got to sit down and do one together. I'm just never coming back here to watch football with you.
Yeah, it's totally until next year.
We'll try it again. Yeah, at least maybe not this year.
Something that skips every amount of years.
Yeah, we'll try it next year.
Do you have anyone else for a thumbs down player, or not really? No, you're not throwing anyone under the bus.
Not really. Usually, I diagnose my thumbs down when I go back and rewatch some of this film.
It's fair.
But like everything was just happening so fast today, and there's again everything got thrown out the window. I didn't even know really how to react because it wasn't the Eagles team that we were used to watching.
Yeah, it's fair.
Tristan McCollum was out of place. There wasn't somebody other than CJGJ who I thought was egregiously bad.
Yeah, it's fair.
You know who my thumbs down is? Frankie Louvu.
There it
Screw
is.
you, because you knocked Hurts out of the game. There it is.
Yeah, but it wasn't a cheap shot.
No. Do you think it was a cheap shot?
I thought it was an unnecessary shot.
It was a little bit late.
He was coming from behind, by the way. So the head dive is pretty unnecessary way to tackle someone. I thought that it was not like a you're kicked out of the game shot, but I was like, what? He was going down and you launched your head shoulder at him while he was already like on the ground. That was pretty.
If that was a running back.
To me, I would say that seems cheap. Yeah, I would say it was to some degree a cheap shot. Some cheap shots are way worse than others, but it was an unnecessary hit, I think, for sure.
Say if that was a running back, would you have said the same thing?
I think so. I mean, the guy was already on the ground, really, right? I mean, he was already on the ground. Now, the hit that really got him with the concussion was kind of like the head to the ground type deal, but obviously he provided the leverage for that to occur. It just was such a unnecessary hit. But to your point, not as bad as like the Clowney hit from back in the day, but just unnecessary. It is what it is.
We're going to go get him next Sunday.
Yeah, better.
We'll
go Tampa tonight.
Absolutely. I believe
Dallas.
That game is, let's see, that game came on a little bit
It's happening.
ago. Yeah. So, we'll wrap it up here. This is episode number 58.
Trent Cole?
Trent Cole. Good pull. Well,
Trent Cole episode.
I like
10-0 Cowboys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jeez. Let's go Bucks. We'll probably pick everything up back after New Year's, I would imagine. It's going to be pretty busy the next 2 weeks with everything going on and Christmas and New Year's being in the middle of the week. Maybe we'll find some time. I don't know. We'll talk about it. We're pretty good at talking about stuff.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
This has been a pleasure.
Never a chore. Always a pleasure. Never a chore.
Absolutely. I like that. Yeah. I agree.
Shout out Matt Coulter for that one there.
Who?
Matt Coulter, buddy I used to work with.
Oh. Gotcha. You got anything for the people on the way out?
No, just keep your heads up high and screw the Commanders. And, man, what a stretch to end this season.
And screw Frankie Louvu.
Yeah, screw Frankie Louvu.
All right. Appreciate everybody. If you listened, streamed, watched, we appreciate you. For DG3, this has been CB, together for the first time in Pittsburgh, signing off. We'll talk to you guys later.
Go Birds!
Go Birds!
Oh, it's a video.